2025 is the year that I have started working away at the backlog, accumulating games for so long. Who knows? Maybe it'd be a good idea to play them. Where else to start? Then back to the beginning. My first Steam summer sale for $12 all the way back in 2014. I picked up Fallout 3 Game of the Year edition. This has said my backlog for so long. I probably could get this for $1 or $2 or just a couple of dollars if I would have just waited. And it sat there collecting dust. I think I only played an hour. I say collecting dust, but I guess digital dust pixels. That actually be funny, actually, if there was an attachment for Steam or something like that. If you don't play games, they collect dust. Anyways, okay, I'm getting off topic already. But I've gotten so Fallout 3. I played for about an hour after I bought it. Played through the intro, and that was about it. I think I got outside the vault and I put it away. Who knows why? But before I talk to you about my experience playing it in 2025, let me tell you my experience not playing it, which dates back to when it released. I cannot remember off the top of my head if that was 2009 or 2007. I think it was 09. It was on the PS3 and Xbox 360. That was the first console generation that I would no longer be on current gen. I had a PS2, and that was my only console for a while. And if I wanted to play any of those Xbox 360 or PS3 titles, I had to go to a friend's house. Now, between talking to my friends at school about the games and actually going to their houses, Fallout 3 was one of those games. I'd see that cover art, see that helmet, which I learned to be the Brotherhood of Steel, and just wish that I could play it. Wish I could hold one of those fancy new controllers in my hands and play that game, but I had no way to get that fix. I remember some stories that my one friend would tell me about it, and turns out one of them that I was expecting this whole time. You might see throughout this video, I'm turning around, keep looking behind me, thinking something's gonna follow me. I think a friend informed me that I think I mixed up a story he told me about the BioShock series. And this whole time I was expecting something to pop out behind me, and it never actually happened. But the BioShock series is on my backlog as well, so we might get to that yet if that is the game that I have this little thing in the back of my head about. But one of the times that stands out to me as well, not the friend I spent the most time with, but I had another friend who didn't play football. I played football. I remember being on the varsity team. I mean, I didn't really play that much, but I was with the team. I was on the bench. So I remember a bus trip. It was supposed to be a big game, and I think we lost pretty badly, and just it wasn't a fun bus ride home. But I had already made plans to go hang out with my buddy when I think we got home after midnight, or close to it, and I was going to bike across town against my parents' wishes, and I think they ended up dropping me off. They weren't too much of a fan of it, but I just remember not really caring that much. I think I did communicate it, if I'm being honest, looking back at it, but as a kid, you know, you're so set on what you want to do that you kind of have no regard, for the most part. And one of those things was hanging out with him, and he was playing Fallout 3 when I got there. I remember he was messing around with a fat man in Megaton, which, if you don't know the context of Fallout 3, or the Fallout games, of what the fat man being a nuke launcher, a mini nuke launcher, you might think that's kind of funny or kind of weird to say, but I remember he was like endgame. I think he had like a really high level character, and he was just messing around. And I loved being able to see these new consoles in action, and loved seeing Fallout 3 on the screen. But and maybe he might have been the one of my friends I think might have had me start up the tutorial, or not the tutorial, but the opening chapter, which I think takes about an hour. So That part was a little overdone for me between when I was younger and then when I bought the game. I got just outside the vault, and then I think I shelved it, and then I didn't do anything with that, and then I had to get through that again. Um, so yeah, that was my experience not playing it. Now, playing it was a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. I did not realize how great the atmosphere was. I mean, it's the wasteland, and I've only watched one show of the Fallout show, or one episode of that show. It's one that, like, you think that setting's really cool and whatnot, but I never really thought, like, what it would feel like. And now I'm kind of wondering what it would be like to be, if there's ever a VR Fallout game. If there is, I'm completely unaware. Um, but the whole time, even like I said, like, I was kind of expecting something to pop out behind me. I found myself genuinely terrified early on of the mutants. I think you saw me run past a ghoul already, and the super mutant. I wanted to be out of there before the ghoul lost that fight. But playing through it and dealing with the VAT system, which was fun, but I'm not the most efficient gamer, so I mean, it makes for a cool shot like that, a Fat Man to the head, but it has a lot of, like, UI handling between the Pip-Boy, which is a pretty nice aesthetic, but between the Pip-Boy and the VAT system, I felt like I was very UI heavy. That I guess it wasn't too bad when I played it because I didn't really think about it when I was playing the game, but I definitely saw it when I was editing. But yeah, the super mutants felt like they were, OP early on, and some of them, like, you come across a behemoth, it's like, stay out of sight. That you just, it genuinely felt difficult to survive, and scrounging for stim packs and caps and ammo. It felt like all your resources were very vital and hard to come by, which is one of the things that this game made me appreciate. Even though I definitely collected things I didn't use, I felt like I needed to hold on to them. So this game it was really great. I know Bethesda back in the day was praised for a lot of the games that they made, Fallout 3 being one of them, and I can tell why. I genuinely enjoyed my playthrough of this.
Well, now, if it isn't the little saint from the vault.
Now, but going through the game, getting progressively stronger and better with your guns and getting better equipment, I started to feel like a badass going against the super mutants and whatever else I came across. There are few things I felt like I couldn't handle, which was really cool. Now, if you recall what I had mentioned earlier in the video, that I did buy the Game of the Year edition, so it has all the DLC to be played through. Did I play through that? No. I beat this game in 4 days. I beat the main storyline, and my file playtime says 14 hours and 19 minutes. Steam says a little bit more, but I think actually 14 hours and 19 minutes, it definitely doesn't include me having to reload anytime I've failed, so that makes sense. As for what my mission was in knocking out games in my backlog, though, do I consider this to be finished? Yeah, because I caught up on what I felt like I missed out on. I know what it's like to be in that Fallout landscape that would have been in Washington, D.C., and I had experienced it for myself, the fear and the just... Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of... I found myself being very afraid in that game. So do I want to play more of it? It was really good. It was a lot of fun. And as far as the DLC goes, I definitely am interested in playing more of it and going through and trying to collect quests. but I definitely feel like I completed it, and I'm happy, especially now that I'm in my 30s and a father, and I got to make the most of my gaming opportunities. I really enjoyed my experience with it. Now, I do have a plan to be able to go back and play this while continuing on in my mission and continuing on um, delivering these weekly videos on my quest to be a better video editor. Um, I guess I don't know exactly. Video editing is something that I studied in college, and then I had a disastrous first job experience, and this is my first time picking it up in 8 years. So I feel like I'm doing all right so far. But in order to continue on in both my mission of making videos and completing games on this backlog, I'm going off of playtime. This game, I budgeted that it was going to be about like 25 hours at least. Looking at how time to beat, or time to beat, how long to beat, and that website can be useful, but at the same time it can be misleading. Like this, it was a pleasant surprise seeing how quickly I could beat it. But I'm thinking that if I'm going, there are plenty of 10-hour games that I could finish in a few days. Like this, I think my actual playtime was 17 and a half hours, so I'd probably say about 16 and a half hours in 4 days. So that's a little heavier for how much time I usually have the game, but we got it done. And but while I'm going on to whatever my next game is, I got some ideas. But while I'm doing that, maybe if I keep the video scope a little bit smaller, I'll have a chance to jump in and play some DLC without having to worry about recording it, which I would argue then I'd probably even be more immersed in it. And there is so many quests that I haven't even touched, but there are quests that I have left unfinished, again, the ones that I was working on, but just didn't go that far with. So and then also, of all the things I remember from Fallout, there is one thing I already know the surprise, but because my friend described it to me, and then I had to look it up on YouTube to see myself. I think this was much closer to, I think, when Fallout 3 first came out, probably by a few years. I don't know. But I remember there being a building where you come into it, and it's just a whole bunch of baby cribs or carriages. And it's just very ominous, and the things that happen on. I just kind of wanted to go and see that, and I'm pretty sure I also have this. I remember seeing, like, when my buddy was playing for a bit. He doesn't remember it at all, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing an entire building explode. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not really worried about, or I wasn't planning on giving a spoiler warning. But like I said, this game's been out for a long time. But if you're like me, maybe you need it because you haven't played it. But yeah. So it feels good to have finished this. The story, I feel like, was really well done. Although I personally, while I do understand that there is I think there's a quest involving Vault 101, or I think I've heard that I can go back to it. Just on my experience with Vault 101, I don't really want to go back to it. As far as the Brotherhood of Steel and these other things, I don't know. I think I kind of just want to go that lone wanderer path that they refer to as the protagonist, and just see what I'll end up doing from there. One thing I am doing the next time that I launch my game file is I'm going to turn the radio back on. I turn the radio off, just hoping that I don't have anything from my footage that ends up warranting copyright strike. But so I turned the radio off in there. But man, the music in this world, it's almost like you take something from like the 70s or 60s, or I don't really know my decades super well, but back yonder, maybe in the boomer generation, is that a friendly way of saying it? The world is kind of frozen in time because of the nuclear war that takes place. So the music, the influence, is going to be a lot of that stuff. And like I said, I had the radio turned off, but I had working a bunch of different gigs throughout the week. I do have the luxury of being able to listen to music, and I've always, quite often actually, and I'm one who typically listens to music in spurts. And let me tell you, when I started looking at up Fallout type playlists, or music inspired from Fallout, I was jamming to it. Like, I don't know how long that's going to go on for, but I think that's still going to be my jam for a little bit. We'll see. I'll be jamming to something and then drop it like, I'm done. But it is definitely a feeling that I am going to go back to. And speaking of feeling, I remember feeling when I opened this that I was just gonna, nope, we're going to close that. Yeah, that you don't see the twitch, but my heart stopped when I first saw that, so it was too good to not include in the footage. But going back to music, I've been listening to a lot of the music from like of the Fallout series, and it's definitely a mood or a vibe that I am going to go back to at some point as I cycle through my musical tastes. It's like flavor of the season, I guess, or flavor of the week as far as music goes. One other aspect I did want to comment on in this game, just the lighting. Yeah, maybe it's the lighting, the colors and the lighting. This game, it is an older game. It has aged, and there are newer installments in the series that objectively look better. It definitely sets the tone right, but that certain dreariness is something that I can definitely feel in wintertime. I mean, we're in January right now, and I don't know when you're watching this, but I was playing this in January, and when the snow is coming down and the sky has been gray for days, it can just start to feel very weary. One thing I imagined, if ever I were to like add footage from like a video camera on top of my gaming footage, I almost feel like you could be going down any of the back roads and you just film some footage and you put like a filter on it or something like that. Like, it obviously won't look like ash from a nuclear wasteland or anything, but it definitely can feel a similar vibe, like a parallel. And that's something that I'm like, it definitely fit the vibe, being able to stay inside and play it in the cold weather. So that's one thing that I appreciated. And then one of the other things I feel like I got to talk about, we're talking about backlog and all these games I got to beat. I'm pretty sure I got like all the other games in the Fallout series on my backlog. 1, 2, New Vegas, Tactics, 4, and 76, which I played a little bit of New Vegas and I played a little bit of Fallout 4, but I did not get as far in either of them as I did in Fallout 3. So, am I going to play them right after this one? I'll say this much right now. I'm definitely looking to switch up the vibe as far as what I'm playing. I think right now I am leaning towards a Miles Morales, something that I can just get a little bit more action in, maybe something without gunfighting, because I'm not really good at first-person shooters. Which, side note, the third-person perspective in this game is very weird and does not feel natural. So I think you see a few times it goes third-person camera, or I might add a third-person camera, and yeah, I was trying to get out of it. But I am going to play those other ones. I think as far as the Fallout series, which way I'd go, I probably would play 1 next or Tactics. I'm a sucker for a good Tactics game. I haven't heard anything about it other than I just see Tactics in the title, and you got some things that you feel like you can expect from a Tactics game. Otherwise, I'd like to see where it began with Fallout 1. It'll probably be a while before I play Fallout 4 or Fallout 76. Actually, now that I'm looking at Fox on the screen, I feel like maybe not so much when it happened. I feel like I had a memory of him, so maybe I think my friend like later on might have been having him as a follower. Like, he looked familiar, or the voice sounded familiar or something. So it's one of the reasons why I decided to trust him there, is it didn't seem like it completely felt like it was out of the blue. But yeah, so I noticed that. Also, I'll just throw this in here. I am getting later towards the end of the video. I don't know if you've watched my other two videos along with this one. I'm just gonna go ahead and say if you can tell it, the last step of each video that I've done, which arguably I feel like should be the first step, is recording the voiceover. I had some mic issues, but recording voiceover to the video can be frustrating and not ideal. So I think going forward, I'm going to try and do it backwards. But this has truly been an eye-opening experience, both on the backlog front of like, hey, games don't take nearly as long to beat as you think. I mean, considering I had only beaten 120 games in 12 years, so 10 games a year before this is my third game beat this year. We're still in January. I beat Detroit Become Human, Sheepy: A Short Adventure, and Fallout 3. So we're on a roll, and we're going to keep going with it. I will say, as we're getting towards the end of this video here, and you're watching what is the final mission, that I feel like they try to make that last decision tougher than it actually was. I don't know if I felt like Fox was crying or saying it was going to be hard. I don't know. It wasn't exactly a going out with a bang, but a whimper rather. But it was one of the, like, Fallout 3, I noticed, definitely felt similar to Skyrim, where it felt like this story wasn't necessarily a strong point, but rather it's the world and just all the things that there is to be found in there. Like, still one of my favorite things was that Super Mutant running the bases in baseball. But yeah, so it's definitely going to be one worth returning to, but for all intents and purposes, this is crossed off the backlog. That is 3 off now, and I managed to somehow finish this video. So if you made it to the end of this video, first off, I just want to say thank you for watching to the end. It means a lot to me as I'm learning how to make these videos and I'm tackling the backlog. And if you got a backlog of your own that you're looking at beating, maybe Fallout 3's on there, maybe it's something else. The number one tip that I've learned so far, it worked for this game, I'm going to try for the next game, but if you just try playing one game this week, like if you actually want to beat games on your backlog, pick a game and just try to play that game this week. You might finish it. You might get very close. And if you don't like it, there's no shame in dropping it. But I think I've cracked the code, or at least, I don't know, finally got to the point where I'm able to start getting through games. So that's 3 down, with so much more fun still yet to be had.